Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
This is the closing bell on the Stock Movers Report. The companies making moves at the close of U.S. trading with Carol Massar, Tim Stenovec, Romaine Bostick, and Scarlet Fu.
We are getting some earnings. Applied Materials, of course, in the semiconductor space, saying that net sales in the most recent quarter did come in a little bit light, roughly about $7.1 billion. The street was just looking for just a few million more than that. So a modest miss on that front. And on adjusted EPS, they did beat $2.39 a share. The street was looking for $2.31 a share. And the company says that for the fiscal third quarter, so basically the guidance for the fiscal third quarter, they do see net sales in a range, a pretty wide range of 6.7 to 7.7 billion. The street on average, Tim, was looking for 7.2 billion.
Okay, there you have Applied Materials down about 1.9%. A reminder, we're still expecting results from Take-Two, Virgin Galactic, Kava, and a few more as well. In the meantime, I do want to take a look at some of the gainers on my radar today. Got to start with Foot Locker having its best single day ever, 85.7% to the upside. This after we learned that Dick's Sporting Goods agreed to buy the company. It's a cash or stock deal. It implies an equity value of about $2.4 billion and an enterprise value of about $2.5 billion. But even though this is the best day ever and the stock surged 85%, it's really only at levels that were last seen just in December of 2024. The stock has gotten hammered really in recent years.
It's kind of interesting, too.
Yeah.
To see some of the analyst notes on that. I mean, really just kind of slamming this deal. I mean, TD Cowen was basically just saying, I just don't get it. You know, $2.4 billion or whatever they're paying for Foot Locker and the softline retail space to scale up.
Look, Dana Telsey was on our program a little earlier from Telsey Advisors. She's really optimistic about this. She said, wait and see. She reminds everybody the way that Dick's Sporting Goods in recent years was able to really reinvent the way that it sold things in its stores and attract this demographic that isn't necessarily attracted to the Foot Locker stores. So like young men, 18 to 25, for example. She's pretty optimistic about this.
I set foot in the Dick's the other day, last Saturday, to get something for my wife, a T-shirt. I hadn't been in one in a long time. I have to say, they were insanely friendly in there. All of the people were. Yeah. I mean, because I didn't know what I was looking for, and they were really helpful. It was quite an experience. Yeah, I won't go back, but it was quite an experience.
Did your wife like the shirt?
She did. It was very great. So I'm doing my part here.
Okay, you are.
Nike shirt.
All right. Happy Mother's Day.
Look for that in the earnings. Yeah.
All right. Cisco. Let's look at what shares of Cisco did. They ended up rising on the day today. This after the company issued a solid forecast for revenue, up close to 5% today. Solid forecast for revenue for the current quarter. Sales expected to be $14.5 billion to $14.7 billion. The company, like many others that have reported in recent weeks, is benefiting from demand for systems using AI tech, corporations and cloud computing providers expanding their networks to handle the surge in AI software. We also got some news about a little executive shakeup at the company, including the departure of Scott Herren as the company's CFO. Once again, shares of Cisco up by more than 4.8%. And finally, back to retail, Birkenstock Holding, BIRK, shares up close to 6% today. The company raised its earnings forecast for the year due to strong sales of its high-end sandals, expecting adjusted earnings of $740 million to $750 million. Sales rose 18% on a constant currency basis. They saw growth in all regions, including Americas, Europe, Middle East and Africa, and Emily, Asia Pacific.
It is sandal season coming up, and so that makes sense why, sales would be going up and people are bullish. I put a couple of things in my shopping cart not so long ago. So there you have it. Let's also look at Take-Two because those results just came out. And the ticker here is TTWO, and we are looking at the first quarter. Let's give you the numbers that for the quarter that ended. Fourth quarter adjusted EPS was $1.08 compared with 28 cents a year earlier. Not sure we're comparing like with like here, but in terms of adjusted EBITDA for the period, $291.3 million does miss the average analyst estimate, which was just under $310 million. As for the outlook, it sees first quarter adjusted EPS of 20 cents to 30 cents, and it sees net bookings of anywhere from $1.25 billion to $1.3 billion. Analysts were looking for, on average, $1.27 billion. Right now, the stock is lower by about 5% in after-hours trading.
Okay, I'm watching what's going on with Virgin Galactic, ticker SPCE up 3% in the after-hours. Some headlines crossing. Astronaut sales are expected to open up in the first quarter of next year. We also got results from the company. First quarter revenue beat estimates, did report a loss per share of $2.38 versus a loss per share last year of 25 cents. The company sees second quarter negative free cash flow from $105 million to $115 million. The estimate for the cash flow was a negative $106.1 million. Shares higher by about 3.6%. First quarter revenue coming in just above estimates at $500 million. Is that $500 million? Yeah, $500 million. Adjusted EBITDA loss of $72 million. The estimated loss was for $70.9 million. Excuse me, that's $500,000 for first quarter revenue. Excuse me.
Those shares higher right now, but let's look at some of the decliners today. United Health shares closed for the 8th straight day, closing lower, down 11%, but the stock did plunge as much as 19%, hitting the lowest level since April 2020 after the Wall Street Journal reported that the health insurer is under criminal investigation for possible Medicare fraud. The company said in a statement late yesterday that the DOJ hadn't notified the company about the reported investigation, and they said, quote, "We stand by the integrity of our Medicare Advantage program," but still a really rough string of days for that company. I'm also watching shares of Meta. That stock closed down 2.4% after the Wall Street Journal reported that the Facebook parent is delaying the rollout of its flagship AI intelligence model. It's called Behemoth, but we'll have to wait a little bit longer to see that full rollout. And finally, Coinbase shares closed down 7%. It was the worst day since March 28th, and this is just after it was announced that it was added to the S&P 500. It was up over 20% earlier this week, and yet this morning got hit with two pieces of news that really weighed on the shares. First, a hack over at the largest crypto exchange. Hackers had near constant access to some of Coinbase Global's most valuable customer data since January, according to Bloomberg reporting. And then additionally, the New York Times reported that the SEC has been investigating whether the company misstated its user numbers in past disclosures.
The Stock Movers Report from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.